From WCIA 3 Sports, this is your Illini Nation Kickoff Show with Bret Beherns.
Welcome to the Your Illini Nation Kickoff Show. I'm your host, Bret Beherns. Marlee, Wierda, and Andy Olson will join me in just a bit as we get set for a new season and the first under new Illini head coach Bret Bielema. Memorial Stadium, our backdrop tonight as the countdown to kickoff is on with the season opener this weekend. In the next half hour, we'll hear from the players and coaches who are eagerly awaiting the chance to take the field in front of fans once again. The last time Illini Nation was able to see the team play in person was November 2019. The pandemic and a Big Ten rule kept the public out of stadiums last season, but that will soon change when tailgates, the sound of the marching Illini, and the feeling of watching college football in person returns once again.
I think it's going to be pretty epic, definitely for the freshmen and the sophomores who we really didn't get the opportunity to experience any of that.
I look at film, through this past year, and I just see nobody there, and it's crazy to think that we did that. It'll just make it even more special when you walk out there.
Illinois hosts Nebraska Saturday at noon in a nationally televised game that was originally scheduled to be played in Ireland. COVID-19 canceled that trip for now, but Illini administrators are still looking into possibly playing a game overseas again in the future.
We welcome in Marlee, Wierda now, and Saturday marks the start of a new era.
Bret Bielema is the 26th head coach for the program, replacing Lovie Smith, who was fired after going 17-39 in 5 seasons. Bielema was hired December 19th, just 6 days after the program parted ways with Smith. This will be his first time coaching college ball since 2017, spending the past 3 seasons in the NFL with the Patriots and Giants. Bielema has a career record of 97-58 as a head coach. He's only missed a bowl game twice in 12 years leading a program. Bielema spent 7 seasons at Wisconsin, winning 66% of his games in the Big Ten. He led the Badgers to 3 straight Rose Bowls. Illinois, though, they've only been there twice since 1984. Then Bielema went to Arkansas, going 29-34 in 5 seasons. And the Bielema era gets started off with a bang. Other than last year's COVID-19 shortened season, conference only of course, Illinois kicks off its schedule against a Big Ten opponent for the first time since 1996, and that won't happen again until 2024.
The Illini are coming off a win over the Huskers last season in Lincoln, so Nebraska will come in hungry this year. It's a nationally televised Week 0 game on Fox, the only matchup of 2 Power 5 teams all weekend. UTSA follows it up, then the program's first trip to Virginia. Maryland is here for a Friday night game on the 17th.
Bielema faces his old team on October 9th when Wisconsin comes to Champaign, followed by a trip to Penn State.
Other highlights include a trip to Bielema's alma mater on November 20th. We bring in Andy Olson now, and while we have a pretty good guess that Bielema is going to run the ball and maybe operate in a 3-4 defense, we honestly don't know.
Yeah, practices have been closed to the public. Media can only view 20 minutes of drill work each day. So other than the spring game where they didn't give much away, we are left second guessing what type of schemes they will use, and the Illini are using that to their advantage heading into Saturday's game with the Huskers. Even the players are staying tight-lipped.
I don't want to say too much because, got Nebraska coming up, but it's going to be fun.
I think we have a very good scheme. I think on August 28th, you guys will see how good that scheme is.
Yeah. The great thing is, right, we are an unknown to the world of college football, especially our opponent, right? So I think the ability to control that messaging is really good.
Adding to the unknown, several key transfers who now wear orange and blue. NC State linebacker Calvin Hart Jr., Georgia defensive back Prather Hudson, and Alabama DB Eddie Smith bolster the defense. Offensively, Chase Hayden suited up for Bielema at Arkansas as a freshman. Receiver Jafar Armstrong played at Notre Dame for 4 years, and quarterback Art Sikowski has suited up at Rutgers for 3 years. Several Illini have changed positions since spring ball. Vertus Brown started all 8 games at guard last year. He's now on the defensive line, but the biggest player to move spots, Isaiah Williams.
Yeah, the former 4-star recruit was offered by just about every major power in college football, most of them to play wideout, though. Williams chose the Illini to play quarterback, though. Now the redshirt freshman moves to the slot with a chance to showcase the skills that make him special.
Isaiah Williams is known for his quick cuts, his speed, and his agility. But his new position coach, George McDonald, knows it takes more than talent to make it as a D1 receiver.
He told me, you can have all the skill set, but if you're not detailed, you don't do the little things right, like, you're never going to be good.
The St. Louis native started 4 games at quarterback in 2020 and even set the school record for rushing yards in a game by a quarterback. That experience should pay dividends even at a new spot on the field.
Now that I switched, it's just not like jitters, like, dang, I never did it before. Like, I actually done been out there, I got the chance to play, but now it's just at a different position.
Williams has now had almost a full offseason to ingrain himself in the nitty-gritty after making the position change at the end of spring ball. The transition has had its challenges, but it's something Williams embraced when he decided to make the switch.
The day when he wanted to do it and how he said it and how he communicated, and then it was literally instantaneous. You could see the effect he would have on this football team.
He's always ready to learn. You know, it's something that's kind of new to him, but something he fits into really well because he's just a great athlete.
With 4 years of eligibility still left, Williams has time on his side to make the adjustment. He's happy with how far he's come, but there's still more left to learn.
There's a lot of things that I need to continue to work on, but I'm attacking those things every day so I can become elite and just, become a complete receiver and be good at all the little things, like all the little details that make a receiver great.
Williams has been getting a lot of reps with the ones in practice. That receiving room needs a big boost, though. This year, they're looking to replace a lot of production.
Andy, thanks. Time for our first break, but we've got so much more on tap. I sit down with Bret Bielema one-on-one coming up.
And an Illini dad is preparing to see his son play in person for the first time in his life. More on Reggie Love's unique story is ahead.
But first, we talk defense, bringing in our Sunday no-huddle analyst, Robert Rosenthal. All that and more next.
Now, your Illini Nation Kickoff Show.
For Illinois football to succeed this season, the defense simply has to do its part. The Illini returned 86% of their starts from last season on that side of the ball, something that should only help Ryan Walters.
Yeah, the former Missouri DC takes over a unit that allowed a Big Ten worst 467 yards per game last season. Illinois was 13th out of 14 teams in points allowed per game at 34.9. So even a moderate jump should put them in a great position to help the team win a few more games. And with so much experience back, the Illini say they're ready to make a difference.
We got a lot of guys that have been through a lot, and we've been through a lot together. So I think that's built a bond for us, and we're all looking to go out with one final haymaker, right?
What's awesome about this team up to this point is they're putting the team first. There's not a lot of egos out there. So guys are just willing to do whatever it takes to sacrifice for the team and give us a chance to be successful.
And now we're joined by Robert Rosenthal from IlliniBoard.com, and we'll start by breaking down the defense a little bit. I think the biggest question this year is, what is the scheme going to look like? I think 3-4 has kind of been the talk around town. What do you think?
I think it's the great mystery because Bret Bielema doesn't want Nebraska to know anything. So you wonder if what he showed in the spring game was what they're going to come out in against Nebraska. One thing that we know, because they hired an inside linebacker coach and an outside linebacker coach, is that they're going to take their defensive ends and they're going to make them stand up on the end, and they're going to be linebackers and they're going to chase tight ends.
What do you make of Owen Carney and Isaiah Gay stepping into those spots?
Yeah, I think it's a little surprising. Owen Carney's 275 pounds on the roster, and you don't usually picture a linebacker being that big on the outside, but it'll be interesting. And, maybe they throw some wrinkles, maybe they slide those guys inside.
Who do you think we can expect to see joining Jake Hansen in that linebacker position?
That's probably the most interesting position battle. They brought in Calvin Hart from NC State, and he's a Bret Bielema recruit. If he goes out in the spring and pulls in a transfer, that's the kind of linebacker he wants that he didn't think was on the roster.
We'll go a little bit more big picture now. Do you think a bowl game is out of the question for this team?
I don't think it's out of the question. I don't think I would put any money on it just yet. So Illinois has 22 super seniors. Maybe 9 of those guys will start, and the rest will come off the bench. There are other teams that have this same level of experience, and that will be the interesting thing of this season.
We've got our full conversation on our website, WCIA.com. Robert will be with us every week during the season for Sunday No Huddle. That's Sunday nights at 10. You can watch it right here on WCIA.
Illinois takes the field this season in memory of Bobby Roundtree. We'll pay tribute to the former Illini coming up. Plus,
I knew this day was coming, and I burst out in tears of joy.
Illini running back Reggie Love III didn't see his dad for nearly a decade. Now they're making up for lost time.
Your Illini Nation continues now.
Bret Bielema and the Big Ten go hand in hand. The 51-year-old has spent the majority of his life watching, playing, and then coaching in the league. The last 23 years, he's been associated with the conference. He walked on at Iowa in 1989, earning a scholarship the next year on his way to becoming a team captain. Bielema got his coaching start with the Hawkeyes, landing at Wisconsin as defensive coordinator a decade later. We caught up with several of his former bosses and colleagues at Big Ten Media Days in Indianapolis who are now welcoming him back to the league.
You know, replicate's a strong word because, you know, what they've done at Wisconsin really since Barry got there is pretty good luck on that one. That's going to take some time to do that. You know, but they started somewhere too. You just go to work, and I'm sure that's what Bret's doing.
It's going to be good football. Bret's a good football coach. He'll surround himself with, you know, I know some of them, and the ones that I do know on the side, they're good football coaches. I've always thought that they've had some really good talent. Shoot, it's always a challenge when you play them.
Pleased to be joined now by Illinois head coach Bret Bielema, and we just heard from a couple of your colleagues. I'm curious, did they tell you anything when you got the job here about what to expect coming back to the Big Ten?
No, I reached out to Paul soon after I got here. Had not talked to Kirk, but yeah, Kirk gave me my first opportunity to coach under him when he took over. Hayden had kept me, and Paul and I kind of came about in a weird way, right? I was a coordinator with him, transitioned into a relationship that produced a lot of really good wins.
How are you different now, though, than when you were when you left?
You know, Bret, probably by far the 3 years in the NFL from a football point has changed a lot of way, I think. More about the IQ, the football learning, game management, all the little things that you can take away from the game has been big.
What's the one thing from Bill Belichick? Everyone knows that name. You worked under him. Did you take one thing away there, or a couple things that you're using now?
Everyday mentality, right? Like, you know, we talk to our guys on our door when they walk in. The first thing they see is do your job, right? But the second thing is to work hard. Third thing is to be here, which means be in the building. And these 120 guys got to think alike.
What was your perception of Illinois beforehand? Obviously, you grew up watching it, then you coached against Illinois, and how has that changed now, if it has?
Well, it's obviously a little bit different, but I've been in this league so long, right? I've been in this league as a player, as an assistant, as a coordinator, and a head coach. Have won a championship at every level along that way. But to be here at Illinois and knew what was waiting, right? There's been flashes, there's been championships, there's been little runs, but nothing that's been sustained.
So how do you sustain that success? Because there's been a lot of bumps in the roads in that time.
I think it's got to be built from within. Like, one of the huge things we've done is emphasize, you know, the recruiting the state of Illinois, put a border around it. Winning cures a lot of different things, right? And I think transition of obviously Coach Smith, to me, like, there's a lot of negative out there, and to provide our fan base with a hope, right? People will support things they believe in, right? And if we're able to show some wins, right, and show production, I think that support will grow very, very quickly.
Illinois has been to 2 Rose Bowls since '84. You went to 3 in a row. When you hear that, what do you think of?
Well, I know it's not easy, right? It hadn't been done before I did it, and it hasn't been done since I did it, I think, like, in 30 years, right? So it's not easy, but I think if you understand that it's the process, right? If you try to have a one-time maximum, or you try to build something up that can't be prolonged, you're going to be disappointed in the end.
Everyone knows you love to run the ball. Is that a fair assessment of what you want to do here?
Well, I think we'll be balanced. I mean, even if my time in the past, a lot of times, you know, people make reference to that. If you actually truly look at the stats, we're one of the more balanced football teams in college football, especially when we're going to Rose Bowls and winning championships.
What kind of philosophy do you want to have defensively? If there's one thing you want to do?
I think be multiple, be sound, make them earn every yard, right? Football field's 100 yards, right? And even an offense versus air, a lot of times can't complete, you know, a number of passes to make it down the field without making something happen negatively, right? So we're going to make them earn every yard and don't give away free yards. I think that'd be a big part to our success.
It's almost time to play football. If you can imagine what this place will be like, 50,000, what would that mean to you to have this place packed?
You know, kind of now that we're into a game week, right? Like, it's on everybody's mind as it gets closer to Saturday. Nothing is going to compare to when they walk in the stadium. They see the crowd, they hear the crowd, they feel the crowd, but more importantly, when they see somebody on the other sideline, right? When Nebraska shows up and puts their 11 out against our 11, that's going to be a moment they remember for a lifetime.
Thanks to Bret for his time. He did not know Bobby Roundtree personally, but has certainly heard a lot about the late Illini football standout. Roundtree died unexpectedly last month, a little more than 2 years after suffering a severe spinal cord injury in a boating accident in Florida. It left him paralyzed, but he didn't let that slow him down, posting hundreds of motivational videos online in his fight to find a new normal and motivate others. The team will honor Roundtree with a sticker on their helmets this season. There will also be a moment of silence before the first game. Some of Roundtree's closest friends are still playing for the Illini. Kalon Tolson and Jamal Woods say his legacy will live on forever.
I want to be remembered as the person that always brought the juice. He just walks in the room and lights up the whole room. He was just a fun person to be around, and like he excelled very good on the football field. So, you know, he's going to be remembered as one of the greatest players to ever play here.
What's motivated me in 97, you know, 97 strong for life. You know, my brother recently just passed, and, you know, I'm going to lay it all on the line for him, you know, whatever it is, so I can make sure that I know that he's happy up there watching down on us.
Now, your Illini Nation Kickoff Show.
Running back is one of the deepest position groups on the team, and the Illini are expected to rely heavily on the ground game. Chase Brown, Chase Hayden, Mike Epstein, and Reggie Love make up the top four, but for Love, this season means a whole lot more, Marlee.
Reggie has never been able to experience a football season with his dad. We took a trip down to his hometown of St. Louis, Missouri, to find out more about how their relationship withstood the test of time.
There's not a day that goes by when, man, I miss my dad doesn't go through my head. I love you unconditionally, always.
Illinois running back Reggie Love III and his father, Reggie Love Jr., spent years writing letters back and forth.
Love, Reggie III, your son.
Love Jr. still holds on to the hundreds of letters and photos he received.
I had to watch him grow up in pictures.
In 2011, Love Jr. was arrested and sentenced to 12 years in prison. Reggie was just 9 years old.
And my mama say, hey, your pop's on the phone. Like, not even getting the phone yet, I'm in tears, like I'm crying. And the only thing I can say is I love you.
Yeah, it was difficult. You know, it was a transition that I had to deal with, that we both had to deal with. I almost felt like I let them down, and I let him down.
Love served 2 years of his sentence at a city jail here in St. Louis, where his family came to visit. But after he was moved to a federal penitentiary hours away from the city, he didn't see Reggie in person for 8 years, only speaking to him through a series of 15-minute phone calls.
Like, I never hung up the phone. Always either let my pops hang up or just let the call in. So it was definitely tough.
I mean, whenever that phone was open, I was on it.
Reggie and his 3 siblings were raised by their mom, and after his father's arrest is when he started playing football.
Football kind of made everything easier for me. Because like before my pops went away, I wasn't playing ball. Just hearing my daddy on the phone, like, I'm proud of you, it just really like sat with me like for a while.
But for all the big moments in his career, like winning a Missouri State championship and signing with Illinois as a 3-star recruit, he couldn't share those with his dad.
Like all my life, like especially like being one of the top guys in programs you play in, he wasn't around for real, like, cause he couldn't. It's not cause he didn't want to.
But on July 9th, years of long distance came to an end. Love Jr. was released 2 years early for good behavior, and Reggie was able to hug his dad for the first time in 10 years.
Woke up like, my pops coming home, like I knew this day was coming, and like I just started, like I burst out in tears, like tears of joy.
When I seen him and we hugged, it was like, finally, you know, it's like the weight of the world was lifted off of my shoulders in that moment. Even though I lost a lot of time, I believe that it made me a better individual.
And they're hoping to make up for the years they spent apart. That's what makes the rest of Reggie's college career so important. Love Jr. has never seen him play in a football game.
Just to witness him play and see the excitement in his eyes, and I'm just thankful.
When Pop started to see me for the first time, had the best game you ever played in your life.
Love Jr. is still on parole, so he's not able to cross state lines right now, but he is in the process of trying to work that out so he can get to a game this fall.
What a moment that will be for the Love family. With even more on the Illini, here's Andy Olson with our analyst, Jeremy Werner from Illini Inquirer.
Thanks, Brett. Like you said, joined by Jeremy Werner from the Illini Inquirer. Jeremy, thanks for joining us on the show, and it's an exciting time. Bret Bielema in his first year. I mean, just how have you in these past few months seen the culture shift around this stadium?
Well, I just think it's exciting to have a new coach. Anytime you bring in a new coach, whether it's Lovie Smith, whether it's Ron Zook, whether it's Bret Bielema, I think there's always excitement about what the potential of the season could be. But what I think is really interesting is Bret Bielema comes with a lot of credibility in this conference, right? The Big Ten, he had so much success at Wisconsin. He's got an interesting situation where he basically inherits the same team Lovie Smith had last year, and we'll really get an apples-to-apples comparison of how they kind of compare as the Illinois head coach.
I want your opinion now on a guy that fans at home may not know at this point, but at some point in the year may figure out who they are. A freshman who you think may have a big impact on the team this year.
Yeah, it's for the first time in a long time, it feels like Illinois doesn't need the freshmen to make a huge impact. I think that's a good thing for the program. It's a smaller class, but one guy that Bret Bielema added at a big position of need that I think Illini fans should know is Keontae Curry. 6'1", 190 pounds. They need some depth at cornerback behind Tony Adams and Devin Witherspoon, but I think Keontae Curry physically, athletically, is built to potentially make an impact right away. So he's one to watch. I think won't start this year, but potential to make an impact.
What are your thoughts on the season? What is your prediction for how this year will go for the Illini?
I think it's a 5-17, but again, like that could be 4-8. And I think this team can make a bowl. I think Illini fans should have that expectation, and maybe they should be hoping for that. But I still think you got to prove it on the field because there are some flaws on this team, right? Quarterback, wide receiver, secondary is a little thin, defensive line still got some question marks there. So I think it should be a really competitive team. I think it should be one that's fun to watch on Saturdays.
For even more content from Jeremy, watch the Your Illini Nation pregame show. It airs live an hour before every game this fall on all our digital channels, WCIA.com, and directly onto our social media pages.
We'll have all the latest up-to-the-minute news from the season opener starting Saturday at 10:45. Here's the matchup. Illinois and Nebraska kick off at noon on Fox. The Illini have a chance to win back-to-back games against the Huskers for the first time since 1924. That's going to do it for the Your Illini Nation Kickoff Show. From Marlee, Wierda, and Andy Olson, I'm Bret Beherns. Thanks so much for watching. Good night.